Hey, happy Friday, everyone. Welcome, Shift Crew and Empath Nation, to the Obsidian Blade Medicine Hour. If you are catching this live or on the replay, welcome, and I am so grateful that you are here as we discuss all things shift, new earth, and reclaiming your power as a creator. And we have an interesting topic today. I think every topic I talk about is really interesting, but this is about this current state of spiritual messaging in social media. And I need to talk about it because, okay, I get it. They're all different stages of where you can be on a spiritual path. And one of the most initial stages is just to feel good, to clean up, where you have been suffering in your life. Through self-inquiry, you're finding the negative mindsets and the past experiences and agreements associated with how you have chosen to live your life so far, and you're cleaning up your act. And that I'm not here to demand anyone be anywhere else other than where they feel good, right? But often, as we understand, if you're not feeling good and you want change in your life, you're going to have to challenge what is comfortable. And sometimes your self-identity based in pain is that comfortable space. And that's a crazy place that we've sometimes become comfortable to abnormal or discomforting situations. And when we awaken, right, there's many levels to that word, awaken. When we awaken to, just the simple fact of, I could feel better, then that's when we do what we call the work. And I want to applaud everyone for doing the hard work on that level. You cannot fly if you've got a ton of weight or anchors hanging around your neck. And that is really where we're headed. We want to become light beings, right? Light doesn't just mean like rays of sunlight being. Like light means like light. You don't weigh so much emotionally. You don't weigh so much with heavy thinking, and therefore heavy actions, and therefore heavy life. I mean, light means light. Like you're not bound so much. You're not so committed to what's been driving you nuts. But I want to talk about the negative side of popular spirituality. There is currently, if we scan, just take a scan of what you're looking at on YouTube and what you're looking at on Instagram and Facebook. And really, there's a lot of entertainment out there. There's a lot of just fantasy with very little application or technique given. And I believe that that's limiting us. So, I want to ask you, given the times that we live in, is there really more time left for you just to be purely entertained and kind of basically trained to be a spiritual consumer? But, is there more time for that on the earth? Aren't we saying that there's time, time is up for giving our power away? Time is up for just being a more enlightened version of a Piscean age? No, it's really about letting some shit go. So, can you see where you would benefit from switching to just being entertained and going to the hard places to do that heavy lifting? Which means coming out on the other side of that hard work, being you, a you that is more you than you currently are now. And again, like I think we're in a dangerous spot. I think that dangerous spot is pretending that we're beginners on this spiritual path. Like, if you believe in incarnation, then it might be that you've incarnated on the earth 64,000 times before. So why are we being so tender and basic when it comes to our empowerment right now? And I think where we're challenged is, again, and I will go into the root cause of why in the West, spirituality is really hooked on fantasy, and at this point, scared to talk about reality. Grounding your spiritual practice into a daily routine and what that looks like, what it feels like, and getting through the challenges of it. Because again, when you research, what people are looking for, it's basic shit. Am I a Syrian? Am I a Palladian? Am I a starseed? Do I have a third eye? What is lucid dreaming? These are all just these are cool questions. But shit, really? We are all on the path to reclaiming our natural state as beings of energy. And when we get hooked on fantasy of the starseed question, or the fantasy of, am I an indigo? Am I a child of source? Yes. Can we fucking move on? Because if we don't move on from the basics, we're going to stay basic as a spiritual entity, but we're also going to stay basic as a species. And aren't the times asking you to be prolific and strong and warrior level, whatever version of warrior it is to you, but it is time to get beyond the basics and start doing a lot of work. And so what I want to say and what we're going to tackle here is that when you see the world around you is reflecting basicness, especially in the spiritual community, where it's really just kind of teaching you to be a more popular person, and someone who wears the best yoga pants and chooses the correct crystals. When we get lost in that, we're not really doing the heavy lifting. And what that also does, because I know all of you are having experiences of energy. You're all having experiences of awakening. And that's why we gather here to communicate about the intensities or the struggles or the realizations and the liberations of that awakening. And so when our mainstream spiritual media is keeping you locked down on the basic shit of whether or not you're a starseed or an indigo or what's your favorite ascended master, all that shit, then you actually can feel isolated. You actually are not being able to share the maturity of where we are at as a species. And it is really time for us as a species to get to this next level. And hey, Emily and Martina, so glad to see you here, and everyone else who is here on the live. Love you so much. So we're going to dive into some of these topics about the kind of elusiveness right now of the maturity that we can step into in mainstream spiritual media. But before we go into that, looking at my notes, I want to switch out that logo. It's been on there for so long. And we transition that. So, hey, if you're new to this place, if you're new to this channel, please hit subscribe. Please hit the notifications bell. We're going live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to talk about all things shift and all things you becoming an empowered energy being beyond the hype, beyond the fantasy, and getting into tangible reality of major empowerment. That's what we do here. And also, if you're new to this channel, here's also what we do as empaths, healers, and creators blossoming into our full abilities. We navigate the exit of the crumbling matrix slave system, aka the land of the dead, through the exploration and cleansing of your shadow side so that you come back to life and become the shift and live in your full power on New Earth in the light of the sixth sun star system. I've got the maps. We are the crew. Let us do this right now. So part of the solution that I want to talk about to this mainstream spiritual deception machine, I'm here to encourage you that it's time for you to be who you really are, and that it's safe to do the work, and that collectively it's time for us to switch from a state of beginner's mind to an intermediate and then advanced level. Again, where I'm concerned when I do scans of what's popular, it's beginner shit. And I know a lot of you have been handling your beginner shit for the last 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, 2 years even, and you're ready for something deeper. And we've got to get to deeper. We've got to get to more power. And, I'm talking about this because I firmly believe there are huge gaps and missing chunks of information in the presentation of what you see on YouTube and what you see on Instagram. It's just a lot of again, either locked into two camps. Feeling good, which is important, and fantasy of whether or not you're a starseed or an ascended master or indigo child. When we don't progress beyond those two places, then if you fall into the I just want to feel good camp, well, where's the techniques, and also it devalues the pain. And just like when you go into the gym, if you want to grow muscles, you've got to get used to pain. If you want to grow, you have got to get used to pain, and making pain your ally, making pain the measuring stick by how much you're growing. And I don't see a lot of talk about pain. I don't see a lot of talk about work. I see a lot of entertainment and fantasy out there. So, looking at my notes here, and I think, the times are calling us to be stronger. The times are calling us to be who we really are inside, to walk on this earth in boldness, to walk in this earth being who you really are, and to walk on this earth. I'm going to change that phrase, walk on earth, basically. When we're heading toward, here's a new earth hot tip. A lot of times when we talk about earth, we talk about walking on the earth. What we need to semantically shift, because when we are on new earth, there it is, on, that word on. We've got to change on to the magic word of with. When I walk with earth. That's better, right? Because we're in relationship. Walk with new earth. Walk with yourself. Walk with your tribe. Walk with new earth. Anyway, just semantics are really important as we shift our mindset. Just looking at the nitty gritty, really what matters? How do we make this more tangible? How do we make your practice more tangible? We have to get into our bodies. The bodies are the collective subconscious of your current experience. When we do shamanic meditation and shamanic healing, we get into the feeling of what we have previously agreed. And the storehouse of what you have previously agreed lives in your body. Therefore, taking retreat from activity in the world, which would just be more continuation of how you've believed the world to be, We've got to cancel our subscription to current expressions and engagements of existence. And we do that by taking daily retreat through meditation, but not just any meditation. No, not just any meditation. One where we silence ourselves to the point where we give our body a chance to talk to us. The body talking to us, what does that even mean? How do we know we're even doing it? How do you know if you're just still thinking your body's talking to you when it versus actually having your body talk to you? Through meditation, we begin to observe the engagement of the mind. We know when we're chewing on something because that is the moment when we're not present. We're in fantasy. We're somewhere else. So one of the first steps in meditation when you're breathing with eyes closed and hopefully a very silent area, it doesn't have to be silent, a place where you're not attached to what's going on outside of you. You're not concerned any longer. Things can arise, things can fall. When you get into that space of breath work and silence, then you begin to ask and begin to send your consciousness to areas like your pelvis. Send your consciousness to your pelvis and ask your pelvis to tell you what's up or just to feel it. Like, talk to me, body. That's really what I say to it. It's just like, I know you're holding tension because of the way I have previously thought. So I want you to feed back to me my own quality of thinking through feeling. And so we sit in feeling, sending our conscious awareness to different parts of our body just to be in presence with self. And as we begin to unwind our focus and begin to listen to ourselves, then energy flows. And I'm going to give you an advanced clue here. When we stop thinking the world is mundane, is the moment we have a chance at living a magical life. The moment we stop thinking that this is normal is the moment that you have a chance at having a magical experience. Really get into that. We have a bad habit as human beings where we distance ourselves from the very experience we're seeking. When you get into this feeling meditation and you're breathing and you're being with yourself and you're allowing the energy of your body, which is really the mechanism that allows you to feel the quality of your own thinking. When you start liberating energy in your physical body, you start to liberate the mindset that thought those thoughts in the first place. That's why we have a feedback loop between mind and body. Body is there to give you feedback on the quality and vibration of your own thinking. That's why we take inventory. That's why we spend time alone to feel the quality of our own thinking and then choose to think different. Because up until this point, your identity is merely, I say merely, but that's an intense word, but is an option. Your personality and the quality of its thinking and the history of its thinking is arbitrary, is an option. And when you become empowered, you have more options. You have the option to no longer engage in the way you've always done it. And that's the wall you're going to hit. That's going to be the pain point, because it's not easy always to stop thinking how you've been thinking, because we get addicted to the feeling of how we have been thinking. And we are crazy motherfuckers where we get addicted and normalize really fucked up thoughts. We get used to and conditioned to agreeing to fucked up thoughts. And then at first, maybe those thoughts really do feel shitty and you're like, God, but you keep thinking them and you keep thinking. And then what happens when you keep thinking something? You actually shove it back into the subconscious. You program your body to normalize it, and then you forget you're doing it, but you're continuing to do it because you've programmed your body to become addicted to whatever that is. So the big clue that I want to give you, the big aha, is that when we stop distancing, like, I'm going to be one day a liberated being, and you put it in the distance, or one day I'm going to become an energy being and have mastery over my energy. Your source right now, you're an energy being right now. And when you stop thinking that this experience of you incarnated into a body on a planet in massive transition is normal, when you stop thinking this is normal, is the chance that you start to get to make this magical. And for my own self, like I said, this is about grounding it. This is not about the fucking mainstream fantasy of like, am I a starseed or an indigo? This is about you in that meditation, in that actual practice, going like, whatever I'm feeling in my arm or my chakras or my intestines or my legs or my nostrils, my eyes, that is energy. That's energy. You're an energy being. Start feeling your own energy and going, I'm an energy being. And that there's a chance at flow, energetic flow, when you begin to feel the electricity of your own body. This is really the first step. If you want to live life as an energy being, capable of so much more, then you're going to have to take inventory of how you have currently and previously spent that energy. Because it's your free will that has spent the energy to get you where you are at. Ooh, that's pretty deep. There's a second part to this mainstream spiritual media that's out there that is really based on fantasy. Ungroundedness that I need to call out. And what that is the huge lack of indigenous wisdom in current popular mainstream spirituality. I want to say it like this. You would become found if you spent time with a culture that has not been divorced from the land. And if you're living in the United States, you're living on top of a colossal unspoken wound. The genocide and displacement of hundreds of cultures, languages, social structures, creative and spiritual expressions, and the near annihilation of the connected wisdom of both the earth and the cosmos that has existed and still continues to exist for tens of thousands of years, as held by these indigenous wisdom keepers. And when you look at what's hot on YouTube and hot on cable services like, or on-demand services like Gaia, it's fucking conspiracy theory and fantasy. That's fucked up. It's okay, and I'm going to get to the root cause, part of the root cause. Sorry, my dog's barking. Bella, shut up. If you live in North America, You owe it to yourself to, how do I begin this conversation? This is like so deep. Why are we so addicted to fantasy rather than reality? And that our liberation will happen when we do the hard work in reality, because that's where we're stuck. Reality is the place where you have to do the heavy lifting, and then reality can become fluid nature. I encourage you to spend time with indigenous wisdom and to be very mindful, because as if we fall into the camp of people who are divorced from the land, like there's two people here on the earth right now, people who are connected to the land and people who are not connected to the land. If you fall into the camp of not connected to the land, you could be considered someone who has a colonized mindset. Your ancestors or you came from maybe somewhere else, like Europe. And Europe went through its own genocide 2,000 years ago when Rome, and this is important to know because it's in your genetic memory, Rome rose up and began to dominate and kill all the indigenous cultures of Europe. For myself, my own lineage of blood comes from England, and it's 2,000 years ago when Rome invaded Britain and killed all of our spiritual leaders, the Druids. We stayed connected to the land through farming, but we lost all of our spiritual routines, our deities, our gods, our love of the earth, Gaia, Tonantzin, all the names that she has, the mother that has birthed her own children. We may have stayed farmers, but we lost our rituals and the freedom to openly worship the gods of life and the goddesses of life. It's a wound that a lot of us white Europeans have. And so for us to heal that wound, we need to do two things. We need to reclaim our ancestry pre-conquest, pre-Roman conquest, pre-colonization of the Romans. And to do that, we can find memory and support from indigenous cultures that have not forgotten their own way. But the tricky thing is to not adopt an indigenous person's ways, but through spending time observing and listening, what's going to happen is that you will remember your own connection to the earth, and that you will remember that your people 2,000 years ago, or however long ago it was, before any sort of invasion happened to them, or genocide happened to them, or colonization happened to them, you will remember that your people too had a connection to the land, that your people had a way to celebrate all the cycles of the earth and the cycles of the cosmos, and that your life was and now can be again in rhythm with these cycles of life. And so, again, take time to spend with those who have not forgotten, so that you can remember your ways again, and again, to be very mindful of not being a colonizer of someone else's culture, but someone who can learn from and appreciate from another culture, of those people who are willing to share their wisdom. And I'm so grateful for the people I spent time with in Mexico. Different people of Mexica descendants were very kind to me and shared with me their knowledge, as well as being able to spend time in that landscape where there are certain safe pockets on the earth that you can travel to right now, that the earth herself hasn't been fucked with. It hasn't been dominated in a way that there's like a weird sickness or a vibration or a wound. You can go to places on the earth which are sanctuary spaces and be with the earth herself, and align yourself with the truth. So, to kind of put a cap on this, I've been going off, I feel like, on multiple directions, but we have to be aware of entertaining ourselves to death with bullshit and fantasy and stories, as opposed to actually having a real practice that you put into your life on a daily basis. Practices that will challenge you, but will change you. And so may what I talk about here and any sort of program or workshop that I put out there be of that practical application, and that it's time for us to get beyond spiritual fantasy basics that seems to dominate our social media and our spiritual media, and get into the real shit. Make it cool to do the work. We've got to make doing the work hella cool. And I feel like I'm kind of out here on an island, not telling you fantasy. I'm not blowing smoke up your asshole and saying, oh, yes, I know all the 10 signs that you're an indigo. I know all the 57 signs that you're a starseed. I know the 7 qualities of how you're an ascended master. All that stuff is great on a certain level and can be tools to guide you when you open yourself up to it. But when we get locked into it as a fantasy or a way to make ourselves feel special but still not handle our shit, then we're doing ourselves a disservice, and then we're doing ourselves a disservice to the entire global existence right now, because liberating yourself is liberating humanity. Going to the hard spaces is the place. It's the point. Emma, reading what you're saying, I think the new earth demands a harmonization of the human animal with her vibration. Yes. Yeah. Indigenous wisdom reminds us that we are her children. I mean, where do you think this flesh comes from, right? It's all connected. Yes, they can track the atoms in your body once we're in stars that went supernova, but then those stars went supernova and then formed the material of the earth. You're wearing the mother. I mean, tell me if you think this is true or not. You are wearing a skin suit of the mother in either male or female form. This is the mother. I'm touching my breasts. This is the mother. And this is how we send not only feedback from our thoughts to our body, and we're in that loop, but we're also in a loop with the mother at all times. Some people call that the Gaian mind, or the collective consciousness, or the collective unconsciousness, but it's one and the same. And so her transformation also is our transformation, and our transformation is also her transformation. They are connected. And some of us came here because Mother Earth requested us to be here. And I want you to feel empowered about that. You are an expert. You are a ninja. You are a strategic badass of transformation. And you were actually requested by Mother Earth herself to come here at this time. Whether you incarnated 64,000 times or you incarnated just this one time, you have been requested to participate because of the power and the potential of your liberating consciousness. You have a job to do. Guess what? You don't need to seek work. You've got a job. She hired you long ago because you're a badass. Now, time to stop playing small and dicking around in spiritual small talk and walk the earth as the fucking flaming transformation that you are, and feel comfortable again in being seen and living in your full power, because she requested it. Because what you do for yourself is also what you do for her. And Mother Earth has a particular transformation she's going through right now. She has a particular spiritual question and evolution that she's going through right now. And your life experience is contributing to the overall sum of that equation that was requested to be solved. And so I salute you for being here on planet Earth in these times to contribute what you know you came here to give. So let us not hold each other back from showing radical change and start to show up again in spiritual media, conscious media, social media as we fully are, and get beyond, it's cute. All these, I love all these positive phrases and positive quotes, and sometimes we need them. But where can we start to model what it looks like to be a badass? A diverse expression of source living in the skin of the mother in these times. So let me jump to this and say, again, I'm so glad you joined me on these, whether live or on the replay. I'm doing Obsidian Blade Medicine Hour Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or you can catch it on the replay. It continues to live on. And also, this is also a podcast. When I sit down and I take the audio from these videos, or I also create special podcast episodes, they're available on Google Play, iTunes, and Stitcher. So please go to theobsidianblade.com/subscribe if you want to catch the links to those, or the links to all these podcasts and my social media channels are in the description below. And I want to thank everybody for being here. If you have any other questions, let me know. We are the Obsidian Blade, and it's always a special treat to be with you and spend time with you, you who are the warriors of this earth in this current space and time. I hold counsel with you, and let us again become bold and feel that energy that is in your body, because that's the place you're going to begin to liberate and get in touch with power. And you are power right now. And this is the age where we reclaim our power to become energy beings that apply that power in very cool new ways that feel awesome. So continue your relationship with the earth. And I'm so grateful to be alive with you right now. I love you so much. And I will catch you in the next live, or hit me up on Instagram or Facebook. Send me a message. Let me know what's going on for you. And I love you so much. Catch you soon.